This page is the front cover of Total 64 magazine featuring Extreme Egg 2. It boasts an exclusive review of the futuristic racer, and also contains previews or reviews for games such as Perfect Dark, Superman, GT World, Roadsters 99, Rayman 2, Worms 2, 64DD, Rainbow 6, and Ghouls and Ghosts 64. There's also a free Buck Bumble poster up for grabs. Be ready for it. The magazine is Volume 2, Issue 9, and costs £2.95. The next page is an advert teasing a new monster game coming in October for Nintendo 64, Game Boy, and Windows 95, developed by Iguana Entertainment. The tagline is, "The monster sleeps until October." The next page is a full-page advert for Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, from Acclaim Entertainment. The advert features a close-up of a reptile eye with a bloody gash, very dramatic. It's coming to Nintendo 64, Game Boy, and Windows 95, which ties in nicely with the last page. This page is the contents page for Total 64 Issue 21, boasting essential reading for the Nintendo generation. A review of Extreme Egg 2 is heavily featured. The 64mation section includes Shoot Hybrid Heaven, described as a great-looking third-person RPG from Konami. Castlevania, promising the best version yet. FIFA 99, with domestic clubs getting the e-sports treatment. Rat Attack, a puzzle game featuring rodents and felines. The previews section highlights Turok 2, with the dinosaur hunter in all his glory. Body Harvest, the first N64 game to receive an 18 certificate. Starshot, formerly known as Space Circus, featuring a star-shooting juggler. Also, there is a review of Gex 64, and a section called Solved. This page is the contents page for Total 64 Issue 21. The editorial discusses the ECTS show and the lack of genuinely new material. It mentions exclusive reviews of Extreme Egg 2 and Penny Racers, plus the first review of WCW vs. NWO Revenge. There's also an update on Turok 2. The review section features games like Wipeout 64, High Octane Spaceship Racing, Rally, 1080 Snowboarding, NFL Blitz, and NASCAR's 99. Glover also gets a mention, described as a Glove's solitary 3D adventure. The rest section lists other features, including news, reviews intro, Total Recall, Cheaty Monkey, The Firing Line, picks win prizes, high scores, subscriptions, back issues, next month, and sign off. This page kicks off the news section with the headline 64 Dead, announcing the cancellation of the 64DD in Europe and America. It explains that Nintendo believes cartridges and the 4MB expansion pack are sufficient, making the expensive add-on unnecessary. They reckon games like Body Harvest, Perfect Dark, Turok 2, and Zelda will outperform PC, PlayStation and Dreamcast titles. The article, Rare Make a Stand at ECTS, covers Rare's showing at the ECTS show, noting that Total 64 got a private showing of 12 Tales, Jet Force Gemini, and Perfect Dark, and these were highlights of the show. The reviewer was very impressed with 12 Tales, Jet Force Gemini, and Perfect Dark, describing the latter as possibly the greatest game of all time with high-end PC graphics and stealth-based shooting action. The next page features the news section, stating, 64D is dead, Jet Force Gemini, GT World, Rainbow 6, Atomic Control, Fighting Force, Superman, Xena, Zelda, Rogue Squadron, South Park, Roadsters, Charts, 4Boys N64 Giveaway, John Casts His Shadow, Rayman 2, Peripheral Vision, ASC2 Competition, Air. It then delves into GT World, promising high-resolution graphics and gameplay that surpasses GT64, and is being developed by Boss, to be released by Midway. The game will feature 8 cars on screen at once, realistic physics and 10 tracks. Next, a section titled, Ooh HHH, Jeffrey, discusses the upcoming N64 port of Rainbow 6, comparing it favorably to the first-person shooters GoldenEye and Turok 2. Finally, there's news about Nintendo releasing extreme green controllers in the US, along with an atomic purple N64 pack containing a grey console, controller and a transparent purple controller, only planned for release in the US so far, and we Europeans can but hope. This page kicks off with Fighting Farce, reporting that Eidos canned their N64 release of Fighting Force. The reviewer felt the preview was slow, with awkward camera angles and too PlayStation-like. Core design might pick it up later, but it seems unlikely. Next up is Superman Ready for Action. Hey yeah, announcing that Titus Software's Superman, the animated series, is ready for release in November in America. You'll control Superman with his powers, fighting villains like Parasite and Brainiac, and the game even features a 4-player deathmatch mode. The bottom section, labeled 64 bits, first covers Zelda Strikes Gold, talking about a limited edition gold cartridge. Then, Fighting Xena reveals that Titus, the same developer working on Superman and Roadsters 98, are also working on 2 Xena Warrior Princess games, one a Tomb Raider-like 3D action-adventure, and the other a weapons-based beat-em-up, similar to Soul Blade. Both are slated for a 1999 release. This gaming news roundup features Rogue Squadron, playable with the Nintendo 4MB expansion pack, praised for its impressive framerate and visuals. Michael Owen's World League Soccer 99, from Eidos Interactive, promises improved AI, graphics and sound. A list of upcoming releases for late 1998 and early 1999 is included, along with a preview of Acclaim's South Park first-person shooter, highlighting its violent and crude content. Finally, Roadsters 98, featuring updated cars and improved 3D graphics, with multiple multiplayer modes, is also discussed. This page is a chart attack highlighting top N64 games, from Excitement Direct, Blockbuster, and the Total 64 team. Excitement Direct lists F1 World Grand Prix, Mission, Impossible, and Banjo-Kazooie as their top 3. Blockbuster favors F1 World Grand Prix and Mission, Impossible, with IS-98 in third. The Total 64 team prefers GoldenEye, followed by Banjo-Kazooie and F-Zero X. A Most Wanted list features Perfect Dark at the top, followed by Zelda, Ocarina of Time and Body Harvest. Seems Perfect Dark's looking to topple the Zelda titan. The next page features a competition where you can win an N64 console and Manta Ray joypads from Game Central. To celebrate the launch of Game Central, a division of Planet Distribution Limited, which will be stocking the N64, they are giving away an N64 console and 10 top banana Manta Ray joypads. All you have to do is answer the following question. Total 64 is A, B, or C, the best magazine in the world. There is also some news snippets below. For example, Worms 2 might be coming to the N64. Apparently Cap.com are working on an N64 Resident Evil beta called Ninja, and Conquer 64 has been delayed to make it better. It also has a release schedule of games coming to the N64, including 1080 Snowboarding, All-Star Tennis 99 and Hybrid Heaven. This page kicks off with John Casts His Shadow, which takes a humorous jab at Dreamcast potentially being crushed. It mentions the success of Pokémon, particularly Pikachu Special Edition, outselling Metal Gear Solid. The article suggests that upcoming Pokémon games, along with Zelda, Mother 3, and Ogre Battle 3, will ensure N64's success. It dismisses Sega as unreliable, and mentions Tekken 3's limitations on the PlayStation. Then we've got Rayman Returns, talking about Rayman 2 making its way to the N64, with Rayman's friends imprisoned by space pirates. Expect over 30 levels, various enemies, tricky situations, and plenty of transport methods, from water skiing to Broncos. On the left of the page are the release dates, with December 1998 including Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Top Gear Overdrive, Turok 2, Road Rash 64, Wipeout 64, Superman, Nuclear Strike, Hybrid Heaven and Quake 2. November 1998 includes Buck Bumble, 64 Uzumo 2, King Hill, 64 Extreme Snowboarding, Onegai Monsters, and Tonic Trouble. Other games due in December 1998 are Bokuju Monogatari, Harvest Moon, 64, Doraemon 2, and Shadowgate Trial of the Four Towers. While Quarter 4, 1998 includes Akumaju Dracula 3D, Chameleon Twist 2, Jinsei 64, Mezaze, Resort King, Jig Tactics Soccer, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Nushitsuri 64 River King, Reverend Limit, Sandorio Time Networld, Survivor, Day 1, Turok 2, Mutual Hirunoken 64 and Winback. The next page features the ASC2 wheel, a steering wheel for the N64, described as cheap-looking but surprisingly robust and fun to play games like F-Zero X, Penny Racers, Diddy Kong Racing, F1 World Grand Prix, Mario Kart 64, Forsaken and Lilac Wars. A contest is announced to win one of these wheels. There's also a segment on Guillemot products, including the Trilogy N64 Joypad Pack and the Race 64 Shock Pack, a steering wheel with optional foot pedal and twin motors, retailed at £49.99 with the pedal, and £29.99 without. This page delves into Hybrid Heaven, a game creating buzz with its blend of 3D adventure, action, and RPG elements. The storyline involves the president being taken hostage, leading Johnny Slater to unravel a conspiracy involving aliens and genetic experiments. The game features a mix of free-roaming adventure platforming with RPG-style puzzles, evolving into a role-player during combat with action and turn-based elements. The turn-based system uses hand-to-hand combat, firearms, and high-tech weaponry. Genetic mutants evolve throughout the game, becoming more dangerous. The reviewer notes the game attracted attention at ECTS for its smooth graphics. The game is said to have a hint of variety and originality to boot. The lowdown section reveals Konami as both publisher and developer, with an expected release date of early '99 on cartridge. The next page showcases an ad for Holy Magic Century by Konami, billing it as the first RPG ever for the Nintendo 64. The ad features artwork of a young boy holding a glowing staff, surrounded by monsters, and screenshots from the game. The tagline promises an adventure of epic proportions. The next page kicks off with Castlevania 64, declaring that if supernatural shenanigans are afoot, forget Ghostbusters and call in Schneider Belmont and friends, Count Dracula has returned. The game looks to instantly silence critics upon release. The preview highlights the game's visuals as superb, creating a dark and frightening atmosphere, especially within the mansions. Lighting effects from candles, torches, and chandeliers are impressive, casting shadows that may or may not conceal hidden dangers. The game draws comparisons to Capcom's Resident Evil. The levels feature high-quality cutscenes to drive the story forward, including a scene where Belmont encounters reanimated corpses, zombified. There are 4 playable characters, each offering unique gaming experiences and endings. Naturally, a descendant of Simon Belmont makes an appearance. The whip, a series staple, can dispatch enemies, solve puzzles, and allow players to swing across platforms. Cornell Reinhardt, a hand-to-hand combat expert who's also a werewolf, is introduced. The lowdown provides the details. Konami publishes and develops the game, expected for release in early '99 on cartridge format. The page concludes with screenshots and captions, praising the lighting and a creepy clock tower. This page is a Castlevania 64 preview, continuing from the previous page's info. It sets a spooky scene, with a Transylvanian castle and a blood-red moon, questioning if it's a bad omen. The reviewer expresses that they wouldn't spend a night in the game's eerie garden for any amount of money. It confidently states that Castlevania is shaping up nicely to be one of the best Japanese third-party games on the N64, as well as the scariest game of all time. We meet Carrie Eastfield, a child, and the sole female character, skilled in magic. Another character is Cola, who uses a chainsaw. The music wasn't in the version seen, but is expected to be high quality. Day and night affect enemy powers, with vampires weakening in daylight, and it also highlights how the game should provide some rather stiff competition for the likes of Shadow Man when it is released. The Denizens of Doom section showcases some enemies, like spiders too big to flush down the loo, skeletal warriors straight out of Jason and the Argonauts, and a 2-headed hellhound with double the biting power, and the ability to catch 2 sticks at once. This page is a preview of FIFA 99 for the Nintendo 64. It jokes about Christmas and the release of another FIFA game. The preview highlights improvements in the game, focusing on domestic football with 220 club sides from 12 domestic leagues, with authentic players and detailed statistics. It touches on how CPU-controlled opponents will behave more realistically. It also mentions teams like Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona, and finishes with the line, Keeper de Peace. The lowdown provides the following information. Publisher, eSports. Developer, in-house. Expected release date, Decca 98. Format, cartridge. The next page continues the preview of FIFA 99, highlighting improvements, such as enhanced framerate, AI, and revamped player speed. It emphasizes the authentic representation of players, thanks to eSports securing licenses for all FIFA players and replica strips. It points out that player weight, speed, vision, and height are all included in the stats. The reviewer sounds optimistic, considering it a promising piece of software, and potentially a big hit for the N64. There's also mention of improved goalkeepers and updated player stats, with a cheeky question about whether Beardsley's wonky chin will be represented. The page also features screenshots of the game, showcasing in-game action. This page features Rat Attack, a preview of a game where cats must save the Earth from rodents. The reviewer notes the storyline is like an early morning cartoon, highlighting the game's accessible animations. The page mentions the plot involves rats named Jefferson and Washington being sent into space in 1957 as part of an experiment, only to be intercepted by an alien probe. The lowdown section reveals the publisher is Mindscape, the developer is Pure Ent, the expected release date is January 99, and the format is a cartridge. Screenshots show gameplay, one referencing the space hopper, and another humorously commenting on a character with a snail for a hat. The next page gives us a closer look at Rat Attack, a game where cats take on rampaging rats. The multiplayer action allows for teamwork or individual competition. The reviewer compares the graphics to a Looney Tunes cartoon, and if you're a fan of Tom and Jerry, this could be a good game. There are 7 different cats to choose from, each with their own special moves. A section called Pussy Galore introduces some of the scratch cats. Pearl from Los Angeles with a penchant for skating, Bobcat Robinson from London who enjoys metalwork, Smokey from Interlaken with a love for landscape gardening, Hijinks from Osaka who likes origami, and Manx from New York, a stock car racer. This page is a preview of Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. Acclaim is bringing this game to the Nintendo 64. The reviewer played the game in depth, promising a bigger review to come. The original Turok Dinosaur Hunter was revolutionary, but had some control and gameplay issues. The reviewer suggests that Iguana, the developer, created Turok 2 to address those issues, even implying it's violent enough to put a shotgun in Bond's mouth. The game is on a 256 MB cartridge, which is considered massive. The lowdown section lists Acclaim as the publisher, Iguana as the developer, and November as the release date. There's a screenshot of the game's first-person perspective, and a monster with the caption, "That'll be one grenade meets Donsal situation for you, sir. I'll teach you to try and bite my gun off." The next page continues the Turok 2 preview, highlighting improvements made based on criticisms of the first game. The reviewer points out the larger 256 MB cartridge and enhanced graphics. There are comparisons of lowers and highers screenshots, showing sharper visuals and reduced fog with the expansion pack. The reviewer is impressed with the game's immersive qualities and sound design and jokes about the BBFC's rating, due to the violence. This page continues the preview of Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. The article emphasizes the game's gore, stating that it makes Resident Evil 2 look like a walk in the park. It highlights the variety of death animations and the ability to target specific body parts. The page also mentions new weapons like the Scorpion missile launcher and the Razor Wind, a returning boomerang-like disc. Screenshots accompany the descriptions, showcasing some of the violent action. This page offers a more in-depth look at Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, focusing on specific weapons and graphical improvements. The cerebral bore is described as a personal favorite, with its gruesome brain-drilling action. The graphics are touted as potentially the best on the N64, especially when using the 4 meg expansion pack, and they surpass the original game, and the gameplay is less linear than the original. There are screenshots of the cerebral bore in action, as well as the good old pump-action shotgun, and finally there is mention of a 4-player mode. The next page is a preview for Body Harvest. You're thrown into the boots of Adam Drake, a super soldier battling insectoid aliens harvesting humans across various time periods. The preview sets a grim scene of a blood-soaked village before diving into the premise of the game, involving genetically enhanced soldiers combating alien threats to protect Earth's populace from becoming part of an intergalactic fast food chain. The game involves traversing 5 large levels in the 20th century. It's published by Gremlin, developed by DMA Design, and slated for a November release on the cartridge format. This page showcases a preview of Body Harvest, boasting the honor of being the first N64 game with an 18 certificate, hinting at its mature content. The text suggests the game is truly sick due to its graphic nature, involving aliens with huge mandibles eating people, and gory explosions. Apparently, if Turok 2 is a 15 rating, Body Harvest must be exceptionally gory. The page then touches upon the amalgamation of game styles, highlighting role-playing, exploration with vast areas to discover, vehicle use for specific tasks and firepower, and blasting with plenty of weapons and aliens. Screenshots are shown with accompanying text, Gonmoller. This page continues the preview of Body Harvest, focusing on the vehicles available to Adam Drake. The text highlights the variety, from a yellow taxi in New York, to a World War I style biplane with a meaty great machine gun. The old-style police truck is included, followed by a ship, and a tank, with tongue-in-cheek commentary on their usefulness in combating the alien threat. The page notes a special hovercraft/tank hybrid is only available in the last level. This page is a preview of the game Body Harvest, claiming it could be one of the top video games of all time, alongside Zelda and GoldenEye. Screenshots showcase the graphics and gameplay, with a comment suggesting the reviewer would rather face Godzilla than the game's crabs. Adam Drake is shown taking a break with an ice cream, and the preview promises a review of a finished Body Harvest Kart in the next issue. The next page presents a preview of Starshot, a platformer from Infogrames described as an intergalactic ride with a space clown. It details the premise. Starshot, a former member of the Space Circus, is tasked with preventing its demise at the hands of the rival Virtua Circus. He roams worlds with robotic colleagues Windfall and Windfly, searching for new acts while avoiding the Virtua Circus's evil plots. The preview notes Starshot's rejection from a genetically programmed warrior force. The preview mentions it originally being covered in issue 17 of Total 64. A screenshot features Starshot in a vintage golf cart, highlighting the challenges he faces. The publisher is Infogrames, the developer is in-house, and the expected release date is November, on cartridge. This page continues the preview of Starshot, a platform game where the player can travel between planets. The review mentions 7 different worlds, and the wacky collection of inhabitants. The original title of the game, Space Circus, has been changed to Starshot. The review makes reference to Banjo and Mario games as being similar, also mentioning the animation running smoother and more characters being added. The review gives a cookery lesson, referencing Pandemonium, Mario, Banjo, Earthworm Jim and Mario 64. There are screenshots of gameplay included. The next page continues the preview of the game Starshot. The game features a fully movable camera and is graphically incredible with so much color, giving you complete freedom to move and interact within the environment. Wetchu. The preview also mentions several planets within the game, such as Tensons, a sprawling desert holiday planet, Ultima Crash, a planet of perpetual crashes, and Primatron, a jungle planet with primitive inhabitants. The review ends by mentioning some of the characters Starshot will encounter. Warrington No. This page continues the preview of the Nintendo 64 game, Starshot. It highlights the 7 different worlds you can explore, each with its own quirky inhabitants. The preview mentions the upbeat music in the game, from futuristic tunes to Caribbean sunshine melodies. The game is described as having weird and wonderful creatures, and a charismatic hero, comparing it to Banjo-Kazooie and Mario. There's even a mention of orange Moomins with 4 eyes, which sounds rather comparing. Page ends by mentioning some well-known villains, Super Sponge and the Bush Monster. The next page is a preview of Wipeout 64, promising futuristic racing, with spacecraft going at high velocity through treacherous fluorescent tunnels, complete with nuclear weaponry. It highlights Psygnosis developing for N64, and the game's expected release date of November 30th. The screenshots show the game's split-screen mode, which apparently doesn't decrease the speed, unlike some other multiplayer games. This page continues the Wipeout 64 preview, emphasizing the game's high-speed racing and trippy dance soundtrack featuring artists like Propellerheads and Fluke, promising warmly welcome oral appearances. The reviewer notes the animation's smoothness and the exhilarating speed. Despite other quality racing games on the N64 like F1 Grand Prix, SEC.ARS, and Extreme Egg 2, Wipeout 64 aims to stand out. A disappointment is the inclusion of only 6 tracks, but notes the tracks are superb with seat-wetting circuits and hopes for bonus circuits. The screenshots showcase the futuristic tracks, some resembling real-world locations like the Rocky Mountain Pass and the hideous carved face that pops up. This page is a preview of Rally 98 for the N64. It humorously states that rallying, unlike hippopotamus-related activities, pits man and machine against the elements, and that Infogrames is bringing that experience to N64 owners. The page includes screenshots and details about the game, mentioning the publisher as Infogrames, the developer as Eden Studios, a November release date, and the format as a cartridge. It also references the PlayStation version of Rally, and expresses concern about the lack of publicity surrounding Rally 64. The next page gives a sneak peek at Rally 98 on the N64, poking fun at the potential need for a service station. It touches on Infogrames' initial enthusiasm for the game, and how it's shaping up with impressive 64-bit power. The finished cartridge will feature 12 1998 rally cars from Subaru, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Peugeot, Renault and Toyota. There will be cars from Citroën, Hyundai and Volkswagen, exclusive to the N64 version. The reviewer mentions a few niggling problems with pop-up, but expresses hope they'll be ironed out for the final release. They also noted the multiplayer option at the time had some slowdown issues, but were confident the final release will fix these problems. The reviewer humorously states, "If variety is the spice of life, then Vrally 64 is a rather spicy dish, full of rather spicy spices, which sets the tone of the game as a whole. There's a crash test, dummy, section highlighting some spectacular car rolling moments." This page offers a rundown of games deemed critical mass approved or removed this month. The reviewer has offered their arms and legs to bring you the latest from Nintendo Land, including the best wrestling game ever, and a whole collection of other top stuff. Games reviewed include Extreme Egg 2 from Acclaim, where the reviewer states, "Extreme is not a strong enough word. WCW vs NW. Revenge featuring oily men in tight-fitting underpants. Glover, a puzzling platformer featuring a glove." Then there is Penny Racers, 1080 snowboarding with the comment, "Woo! Dude, no way!" NFL Blitz, and NASCAR's 99. The page features reviews breakdown for Weetrix with Control Freak Box and Info Box, which has the game publisher, developer, save game memory pack requirements, number of players, rumble pack compatibility and cartridge size. The next page details the magazine's scoring system, explaining what the different score ranges mean from 90100, buy these games if you know what's good for you, down to 019, friend-threatening catastrophe. It introduces the Top Banana Award for games scoring 90% or higher, and the Slip-Up Award for anything below 39%. 5 of the magazine's reviewers, Simon, John, Graham, Lee, and Stu, are featured, along with their top 5 game choices. Each of their opinions differ slightly, with titles such as Turok 2, Extreme Egg 2, WCW vs NWO Revenge and ISS 98 amongst their favorites. The verdict box from the previous review pages has been revamped. Instead of percentages, category scores, graphics, sound, playability, are now represented by single numbers. The magazine justifies this by asking, what exactly is the difference between an 82 and 83% sound rating? There is a Diddy Kong Racing review breakdown, awarding the game 95/100ths, with an ace rating. This page is a review for Extreme Egg 2, a futuristic racing game developed by Probe and published by Acclaim. It boasts motorcycle mechanics and being a sequel to a successful original. The game information mentions it supports 14 players, rumble pack, memory pack, and it requires a 128 MB cartridge. The reviewer seems quite enthusiastic about the title. The next page features a first impressions review of Extreme Egg 2. The reviewer compares the game to a rollercoaster ride, suggesting it's visually impressive and hopefully plays as well. The page highlights the game's futuristic racing style, mentioning that Honda will still be making big-up motorbikes, whatever that means. There's a Control Freak section showcasing the N64 controller layout for the game, detailing the functions of the analog stick, a button, B button, C buttons, Z buttons, start button, D-PAD, and shoulder button. The main text describes Extreme Egg 2 as an all-round improvement upon the first game, aiming to capture the thrill of futuristic superbikes loaded with turbos and weapons. It suggested that it's a race and shoot game, like Mario Kart or Diddy Kong Racing, but with its own style, presentation, and depth. The review finishes with a screenshot and the line, "See, it's not always dark in the world of Extreme Egg 2. Sometimes it looks positively utopian. Brave new world, anybody?" The next page continues the review of Extreme Egg 2 from the previous page. The reviewer jokes about needing L plates to learn the tracks and mentions the game's dark, post-apocalyptic aesthetic, comparing it to Blade Runner. They touch on the game's quality, likening it to Forsaken, Turok 2, and Shadow Man, and note that Nintendo is aiming at this type of audience. The reviewer highlights the fast-paced action, weapons, and 4-player mode, suggesting the game has more appeal than recent races on the N64. They recommend it and suggest not expecting Rudolph on one of the metal beasts. The page also features screenshots showcasing the game's graphics and track design, complete with speedometers. This page continues the Extreme Egg 2 review with more details, including the game's intense racing, graphics, and atmosphere. Apparently wrestling with a big woman is akin to controlling one of the bikes in the game. The page mentions the game's advertising, which features brands like Diesel and Honda. There is mention of 36 tracks to play on, and nods to the wider tracks being similar to the M1. It also features screenshots from the game, and a look at the rider selection screen. The reviewer suggests that the riders are not the sort of people you would want to meet down a dark alley. This page delves further into a review of Extreme Egg 2, complementing the game's front-end presentation, graphics, and real-time lighting. The reviewer enjoys the drum and bass music, stating it gives the game some instant credibility. While acknowledging improvements over its predecessor, the multiplayer modes are not up to scratch and the steering takes time to get used to. Overall, the single-player mode is considered satisfying. The reviewer admits to still preferring for Zero X, but believes they are in the minority, and also touches upon the game's fogging effects. The next page continues the Extreme Egg 2 review, with screenshots showcasing the futuristic racing environments and power-ups. The reviewer highlights the single-player experience, time trial mode, and the frantic multiplayer, praising the wealth of options available. They compare it to other races like Mario Kart and Penny Racers. The page also mentions alternative games such as Zero X, which is described as the granddaddy of them all, SCARS, a Diddy Kong racing clone, and Wipeout 64, which is anticipated to be a major contender. The final verdict gives Extreme Egg 2 high scores across the board, with an impressive 93% overall. It is praised for its graphics, sound, playability, and lastability. This page is a review of WCW vs NWO, Revenge for the Nintendo 64, with the game described as being neck and neck with WWF in popularity. It highlights the emergence of the New World Order storyline and serves as a follow-up to WCW vs NWO World Tour. The review touches on the game's control scheme, listing the functions of the analog stick, A, B, C, Z, Start, D, PAD, and shoulder buttons. The reviewer reflects on the late 1990s wrestling boom, fueled by figures like Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, and Goldberg. They mention previous Game World Tour, acknowledging that while critics dismissed it, the game's still a fixture on their playlists. They praise the game's roster size of 80 characters, including new WCW acquisitions like Bret Hart and the British Bulldog, even referencing the WWF Warzone. The reviewer notes the various divisions, such as NWO Hollywood and Wolfpack, and character types, from giants to high flyers. It touches on game modes, like the 40-man Rumble, and authentic arenas, like Starcade and Monday Nitro. There is also a shot of a wrestler performing a move akin to Spider-Man with the caption, "Hang on, what's he doing here? Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Not wrestling then." This page features a review of WCW vs NWO, Revenge for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer praises the game mechanics, highlighting the grapple system as more strategic than button mashing. They also mention the variety of moves, from soft grapples to harder ones, and the ability to perform aerial moves. The review includes screenshots of the game and highlights inside and out plancha dives and rope-assisted Asai moonsaults as possible moves. The bottom of the page showcases in-game models of famous wrestlers like Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Bret Hart, and Goldberg, all of whom were part of the NWO storyline during that era. The reviewer praises the game's roster size of 80 characters, including new WCW acquisitions like Bret Hart. This page continues the review of WCW vs NWO, Revenge, highlighting the game's intro sequence as one of the best on the N64. The reviewer jokes it's cheesy but also damn cool. Emphasis is placed on the Van Damme-style replays, after powerful moves for smug celebration. The review also mentions several wrestling moves, including the space-flying Tiger Drop, DDT, and top turnbuckle splash. The feature of being able to use all parts of the ring, turnbuckles, apron and ropes, is praised. There's also a mention of combination moves and reversing your opponent's attacks, with well-timed button presses. This page features a continuation of the WCW vs NWO Revenge review, and the reviewer is clearly having a blast. They highlight the Spirit feature, which replaces the typical energy bar, and the ability to reverse moves with well-timed button presses. There's a spotlight on the 4-man ring fun mode and a shout-out to the cartoon-style referee. You can even jump out of the ring and beat up managers and valets. Customization is also a big part of the game. You can change the wrestler's costume, and even make the giant look like a ponce. This page continues the WCW vs NWO Revenge review, declaring it arguably the best multiplayer game on the N64. The reviewer praises the ridiculous number of scenarios, the ability to use weapons like rubbish bins and barbed wire baseball bats, and the improved single-player mode with over 55 default wrestlers and another 24 secret characters. They also comment on the improved graphics and animation, calling it a spandex ballet. Finally, the page highlights some stunning moves in the game. The next page delves deeper into the WCW vs NWO Revenge review, highlighting its status as a wrestling fan's dream, one that no N64 owner should be without. The reviewer appreciates that everything has been expanded upon, the game is bigger, better and faster, though admits that there are some minor graphical glitches. The camera is criticized for its desire to keep every character in frame at once, which often zooms out too far. The tag team matches suffer from a static camera angle, obscuring the action. The 5-on-5 elimination matches have been removed. Jacoba, the reviewer praises the game's long matches, lasting from 5 to 20 minutes, offering opportunities for genuine comebacks. The verdict rates the game highly. Graphics receive a 9, sound scores a 7, playability gets another 9, and lastability also gets a 9, leading to an overall score of 94, declaring that getting into the ring was never so much fun. This page features a review of the game Glover for the Nintendo 64. It highlights Glover's place within the platform game genre on the N64 alongside titles like Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Baby Yoshi, Sex and Starshot. The info box states the game is published by Nintendo, developed by Hasbro Interactive, supports 14 players, and is a puzzle/platform type of game. It also confirms battery backup for saving and a 96 MB cartridge size, with no Rumble Pack support. The next page is the review of Glover. It mentions that the game feels stiff at first, but becomes smoother as you progress. The reviewer comments on the originality of the game, comparing it favorably to Acclaim's Iggy's Wrecking Balls and Dream's Silicon Valley. The story of Glover involves a wizard, a magical explosion, and the quest to recover 7 crystals that have been turned into balls. The review then proceeds to provide some tips on how to handle your balls in the game, that's what she said, detailing how to walk on the ball, throw it, slap it, and dribble. Finally, the page contains a controller layout, explaining the function of each button. This page continues the review of Glover, calling it a commendable effort. It talks about how you can roll, bounce, dribble, slap, and even walk on the ball. There are different types of balls you can use: the standard plastic ball, the bowling ball, crystal ball, and ball bearing. The reviewer comments on the strange, almost European, feel of the graphics and sound, drawing comparisons to Infogrames Starshot. They also remark on the terrible fog, weird enemies, and bizarre music. The page also shows off some gameplay screenshots of Glover interacting with the different balls in various situations. The next page is the conclusion of the Glover review, positioning it as a definite third choice for platforming fans who already own Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. It mentions the game featuring 30 levels that range from prehistoric to Atlantis to space. The reviewer highlights that the real longevity comes from collecting everything and getting the highest score. The review touches on the difficulty, odd enemies, and bizarre music. The verdict gives Glover a 7 for graphics, 7 for sound, 9 for playability, and 8 for lastability, resulting in an overall score of 89%. The page also features more screenshots, showcasing Glover rolling balls around, and a demonic space hopper. This page features an article on Penny Racers, a micro-racer game for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer notes the popularity of small-scale racing games and THQ's decision to bring this title to the console. It's described as playing like Mario Kart, and looking like a 3D version of Micro Machines. The page includes a control scheme guide, screenshots of the game, and commentary about the small cars and circuits. The reviewer also jokes about someone not grasping the game's concept. The game is described as potentially appealing to players who enjoy racing games and don't mind the scale of the vehicles. The next page continues the review of Penny Racers on the Nintendo 64, diving into the gameplay experience. The reviewer acknowledges that the graphics aren't the prettiest, but that the game makes up for it with fun, combat-focused racing, where you can pick components from your opponent's vehicles. The review also mentions various terrains and weather conditions. You can race on Arctic, off-road and rain-sodden country lanes. The primary goal is to finish in the top 3, unlocking more of the fun. Weapons and vehicular destruction are part of the experience, and there are time trial and multiplayer options. The review highlights the ability to steal parts from other racers' vehicles, for example police lights, or a turbo injection unit. The action remains fast-paced, with potential friction between players in multiplayer matches. The bottom of the page features a miniature motor mayhem section, stating that there are over 100 vehicles to choose from. This page continues the Penny Racers review. It highlights the weapons, the scenery, and the extensive track editor. The reviewer jokes about the country lodge scenery, not accepting lunch and vouchers. The track editor is emphasized, allowing players to create their own courses. The reviewer states, whether it be shooting your way through the field or laying a bomb in your tire tracks for the unsuspecting, the way you choose to race is entirely yours. The review mentions the variety of hazards, entertainment value, and the sounds which are described as a carnival of heavy metal guitar riffs or cheesy, bleeping, happy tunes. The reviewer sadly notes that Penny Racers has the latter, but it is tolerable at first. This page concludes the Penny Racers review, showing in-game screenshots of the fun and colorful tracks and the quirky character style the game has to offer. Lips comment makes a few jokes whilst bigging up the game's features, concluding that they recommend you check out this little beast of a game. The verdict gives the game an overall score of 85%, with graphics and sound being rated a 7/10. Playability gets a 9/10, with last ability scoring an 8/10. The alternate views enable you to view your car in a smaller form, and the page cheekily states, "This must be a half-penny racer, heh." The next page features a review of 1080 degrees snowboarding on the PAL N64. The reviewer reminisces about playing the Japanese import copy and how it consumed lunchtimes in the office. They praise the graphics and snow effects, even joking that they're so good they make you want to wear a sweater. The review mentions other games, like F-Zero X and Turok 2, which were popular at the time, along with games on the PlayStation, such as Tekken 3 and Metal Gear Solid, that were looming large in the gaming landscape. The reviewer thinks that the game might have been better received if it was released earlier in the year. A first impressions box states, "It's back, it's on PAL. The game that we fell in love has returned in all its icy glory." The verdict gives the game an overall score of 85%, with graphics rated at 9/10, sound at 8/10, playability at 8/10, and last ability at 6/10. It's described as a wonderful game that hasn't got enough tracks. The review also has some screenshots showing the gameplay in action with damage stats and speed. 8/10. This page features a review of NFL Blitz for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer starts by questioning why Americans are so obsessed with football, but then admits that NFL Blitz is a surprisingly enjoyable game, even for someone who doesn't understand the sport. The review highlights the over-the-top action and hilarious gameplay, comparing the players to brick toilets. The graphics are praised, as is the sound design, with its credible commentary and a sickening selection of thuds and groans. The reviewer suggests that the game is best enjoyed with a friend, especially during tense matches. The review also mentions that the game has full NFL licensing and features real-life players, and also notes that it's the first Nintendo game that can be played in the arcade, with plays saved on a memory pack. The lack of a 4-player mode is criticized, along with the cheating AI. The reviewer's first impressions box shows initial skepticism turning into genuine enjoyment, declaring the game actually pretty ace. The verdict gives NFL Blitz an overall score of 89%, with graphics rated at 9/10, sound at 8/10, playability at 9/10, and last ability at 8/10. The final comment describes the game as a different American football game which should appeal to most people. Screenshots of the game are also shown, along with the comical caption, "Hulk Hogan makes his pro debut on the gridiron, but old habits die hard." The next page features a review of NASCAR 99 for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer seems unimpressed with the subject matter from the start, suggesting that NASCAR racing isn't particularly exciting due to the repetitive oval tracks. The reviewer acknowledges the detailed car models, but criticizes the poor backgrounds and the uninspired sound design, comparing it to grass-chewing pig farmers headbanging in their dungarees. They do note that the cars handle well, and the game offers a challenge, but ultimately doubts its lasting appeal, saying it's unlikely to hold your interest for more than a couple of days. The first impressions box reflects the reviewer's initial boredom with the oval track concept. The final verdict gives NASCAR 99 an overall score of 59%, with graphics at 6/10, sound at 7/10, playability at 8/10, and last ability at 5/10, concluding that it's a good NASCAR racing game, but bad racing game. The next page is a full-page advertisement from Excitement Direct, packed with Nintendo 64 accessories and games. It includes controllers, steering wheels, rumble packs, and memory cards, alongside a listing of N64 and other console games, offering fast delivery and free postage in the UK. There are various steering wheels on offer, like the Mad Catz and V3 racing wheel, as well as generic joypads and rumble packs. They're practically giving away soft character toys of Banjo, Yoshi, Donkey Kong and more. There's also a section of miscellaneous items. There's an order form at the bottom, so you can fill in your details and get ready to spend your hard-earned cash on all this. Warridan. This page from Total 64 magazine is titled, Total Recall, reviewing games available for the N64. The reviews are based on the rising standards of games at the time. The page has an icons section, explaining symbols used in the reviews, detailing save game types, cartridge size, rumble pack compatibility, and player numbers. There's also information regarding region coding and what it means to import games from the UK, Japan, and the USA. Game reviews featured include Icol types, 1080 degrees snowboarding, rated 89%. It's praised as a well-made snowboarding game, but with limited replay value. Airboarder 64. Given a 78% score, it's described as an average snowboarding game set in the future, not really worth your money. All-Star Baseball 99, scores 87%, noted for highest graphics and realistic commentary. Banjo-Kazooie achieves a 96%, hailed as potentially the best platform/3D adventure game on any console. BioF.EAKS scores 84%, described as a great beat-em-up game with amazing graphics. Blastcore, with 89%, it's called a wonderfully original puzzle game where you save the world from nuclear devastation. The next page of Total 64 features more Total Recall and 64 game reviews, this time taking a look at a broader range of titles. First up is Bomberman 64, which receives a 60% score. The reviewer feels it doesn't quite live up to the Mario standard and the multiplayer feels cluttered. Next, Buster Move 2 gets a 60% and is described as a blatant rip-off. Unless you can get it for less than £25, the reviewer says don't bother. Buck Bumble, UK, earns a 91% rating, described as an excellent shoot-'em-up, only let down by the hellish fog. Dark Rift receives 69%, a competent beat-em-up that's looking a little dated. Dazaiman 3D, Jap, scores a 40%, a shoot-'em-up maker that might be worth it if you speak Japanese and want to wait for the PAL version. Diddy Kong Racing gets a 95%, the game that Mario Kart should have been. It is perhaps a little too cute for older players. Doom 64 is awarded 79%. It's a decent update of the PC classic but can't compare to GoldenEye. Duke Nukem 64 receives 85%. The Duke finally makes his Niddy 64 debut. Everything you'd expect is here, minus the dodgy strippers. Extreme G scores 87%, proving the N64 can do fast racing games. It can be frustrating to control at times. Finally, F1 World Grand Prix US gets 92%, perhaps a little slow, but with stunning graphics and options, it's a must-buy for F1 fans. This page is another round of N64 game reviews under the Total Recall banner. First up is Zero X, scoring a massive 92%. The reviewer praises its high-speed racing and supreme playability. It's future racing at its purest. Fighter's Destiny receives 88%, being praised as something of a novelty and enjoyable fighting game that doesn't try to copy Tekken. Gex 64 gets an 84%, which is a reasonable score, being described as fun even though it doesn't quite reach Banjo-Kazooie's standard. GT64 Championship Edition scores 79%. It's the N64's Gran Turismo but not as good as the PlayStation's best. ISS64 achieves 92%, being described as the best footy game on the N64, with arcade-style gameplay. Killer Instinct Gold receives a 49%, being revolutionary a couple of years ago, but unfortunately now dated. FIFA RTTWC 98 gets a poor 78%, saying despite the options and graphical finesse it's a very poor footy game. Forsaken scores 90%, proving the N64 can play fast-moving 3D shooting. GoldenEye 007 receives 98%, described as the best game on the N64, ahead of any other first-person shooter. Iggy's Wrecking Balls is awarded 82%. The reviewer jokes this game is enough to send anyone schizophrenic. ISS 98 scores 95%, being described as an improvement over ISS 64. Lilat Wars/Star Fox 64 gets a 94%, saying its breathtaking graphics make you feel like you're taking part in a movie. N64 game reviews continue, highlighting strong performances from Mario Kart 64 93%, Madden 64 89%, and Mortal Kombat 4 90%. Other titles receive mixed reviews: Mace, The Dark Age 80%, Major League Baseball 79%, Mission Impossible 83%, Multi-Racing Championship 80%, Mystical Ninja 89%, NBA Courtside 81%, and NFL Quarterback Club 89%. Conversely, Mike Piazza's Strike Zone 30% and Off-Road Challenge 45% are heavily criticized. Overall, the N64 lineup offers a variety of experiences, from excellent racing and fighting to more mixed results in other genres. This page features a Total 64 roundup with mini-reviews of various N64 games. Rakuga Kids gets a 61%, described as a bizarre beat-em-up that wears off quickly. Quest 64 scores 69%, being a disappointing RPG that's too easy and shallow. Shadows of the Empire earns 77%, a Star Wars title with mixed levels. Star Soldier gets a 65%, looking weathered without a 64-bit makeover. Pilot Wings 64 is a standout at 95%, praised for its inventive gameplay and graphics. Quake receives 85%, a scary PC port, though not as good as GoldenEye. Snowboard Kids gets 80%, a cute but shallow Mario Kart-like game. Super Mario 64 earns a 96%, hailed as a truly wonderful experiment. Tetrisphere scores 84%, an addictive but challenging spherical nightmare. Top Gear Rally gets 75%, fast-paced but with sparse backgrounds. Tsunami earns 86%, a fine, addictive puzzler. Finally, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter also gets 86%, an excellent game overshadowed by GoldenEye. Please provide the text you would like me to summarize. And North Cheshire, blah. The next page is a full-page advert featuring Banjo-Kazooie, advertising a 100-page guide packed with tips, cheats, and solutions for the greatest N 64 games. This page is the cover of GameBuster Issue 5, claiming to put you one step ahead of the game. It highlights covered games such as Mission Impossible, Mortal Kombat 4, Banjo-Kazooie, ISS-98, and WWF Warzone. There is a character from Mortal Kombat and a football game to entice the reader and advertise the contents of the magazine. It also teases the UK's best-selling compilation of hints, cheats, and solutions for Nintendo 64. The next page is a guide to Gex 64. Enter the Gecko, cheekily titled The Good Gex Guide, Part 1. It promises help for players lost in the world of Gex, offering a complete walkthrough for the N64 platformer. The guide includes tips on camera control, collecting flies for health and power-ups, and Gex's special abilities like clinging to walls and performing karate kicks. It also details the importance of collecting remotes and how they unlock new areas, as well as the collectible tiers within each world. The layout features a screenshot of a robotic Gex head with sharp teeth, red eyes and glowing wires. This page continues the Gex 64 guide, diving into the Screen TV, Smellraiser level. It gives tips on surviving the haunted mansion, smashing blood coolers, and riding the haunted elevator. The guide points out hidden goodies like a red Firefly TV and a checkpoint in the step into the light room. It also reveals the location of a hidden silver remote, instructing players to jump off the elevator at the bottom to the right. Warrington Dorkroom. This page is a guide for Toon TV, out of tune in Gex 64. It advises against stepping on brown rocks and tells you to tail whip attacking flowers. The missions are best tackled in reverse order, making it easier to advance. The first mission involves whacking 5 purple mushrooms, with the first located behind the starting point. The next mushroom is hidden behind a stone, followed by using a girder to reach a hidden area for the third. The fourth mushroom is at the top left of the rainbow waterfall, and the final fungus is past a wooden platform and a flower. The second mission is to hunt 2 hunters. You'll need to go past the rock wall, up the waterfall, and jump down a hole to find the first hunter. Jump to avoid his bullets, and make your way up the half-log ramp to find the second hunter. The third mission directs you to jump to the teetering rock by traversing the hunter's area and jumping down another rabbit hole. The guide also reveals the location of a hidden silver remote, accessible from the rainbow waterfall, and hidden goodies like a purple Lifeline TV in a hollow log. The next page is also a guide, this time for GeX 64, Titanic Jacques Cousteau. It starts with the helpful advice to grab the wetsuit, we're going down. The level gives GeX complete freedom under the sea. The guide breaks the level down into sections. First, swimming through 3 arches which are located to GeX's left, to the left of the love boat, and to the left of the large seaweed-covered area. Next, you need to find the end of the cave. This involves swimming to the left to reach a turtle with a taxi sign on his back, followed by another turtle. The guide then directs you to swim directly forward into the cave, taking the left path, then the right, then the left again. Halfway down this passage, there's another turn to the left. Then it's time to reach the top of the Titanic, swimming to the sign, with the arrow pointing up, and into the ship trapped in the iceberg, activating switches, and navigating through the engine room. Finally, a hidden silver remote can be found by continuing straight on, before turning into the cave where you pick up the second remote, through the hole in the cave wall. Swim up to the surface, when you see the shark to claim your prize. The guide also suggests swimming to the surface, and into all the rooms in the caves to find hidden goodies and extra lives. This page is a guide for Kung Fu Theatre, Mao Zedong, in GeX 64. It details how to navigate the level, defeat the deadly dragon using a cannon, and traverse rocking pillars. It also points out hidden goodies and a hidden silver remote, found by Tail bouncing onto the Good Times massage sign and jumping onto the roof of the courtyard. You must also smash all the urns for extra goodies, and the rooftops are the place to be to find collectibles. This page is a guide for the level Circuit Central in GeX 64. It gives tips on how to navigate the level, including not fearing the green swirling masses of light. It tells you to scale the bionic launch tower, how to cross the databus bridges, and where to find the hidden silver remote. It also includes a quick tip on finding hidden goodies, extra lives in the dark tunnel, and hit pause in the first chamber. This page is a guide for Screen TV, Frankensteinfeld, in GeX 64. It offers tips on navigating the level, including instructions on dealing with axe-wielding suits of armor, knife-wielding maniacs, and skull-throwing specters. The guide details how to run the axe gauntlet, head down the ramp, and stick across the ceiling maze. There are also notes on where to find the hidden silver remote and hidden goodies. Borinty. The next page delves into Toon TV, Fine-Tuning, from GeX 64, providing a walkthrough for tricky sections. It highlights the importance of hitting the Test Your Strength bells, and gives instructions on climbing the tree. The guide explains how to navigate ABC blocks, seesaw girders, and spinning platforms to get the first red remote. There are tips on storming the castle, using the galleon, and finding the hidden silver remote plus hidden goodies. This page tackles Rocket Channel, The Umpire Strikes Out in GeX 64. It emphasizes the importance of keeping your oxygen topped up in space. The guide walks you through riding the rocket, dodging laser blasts, and dropping down a hole in the floor to find the red remote. It covers navigating islands, power towers, and rotating bridges, as well as dropping to the asteroid on the left, and traversing the SBEND, and the rotating platforms to get to the Battle Dome. There's also a pointer to a hidden silver remote, where you follow the route to the rocket, destroy the antennae, to reveal an alien in a UFO, to gain access to a lower level. The page also suggests you tail whip the radio antennae and grey chests for extra collectibles. The next page continues the GeX 64 guide, this time for Prehistory Channel, Pangaea 90210. It kicks off with using the prehistoric red blooms as trampolines, warning you to avoid the lava and pesky pterodactyls. The guide covers assaulting the lava island by following the cliff base, sticking to the wall, and jumping over the lava moat. Then it's on to climbing the volcano, avoiding flame jets, and using the purple stegosaurus to reach white markings on the walls, employing counterbalance pistons. It also directs you to a hidden silver remote after the first stegosaurus where boulders are apparently smashing to smithereens in mid-air, and contains a pointer to hidden goodies, like the green Healthfly TV behind the ribcage. This page showcases official licensed keychains for the N64, including the controller and the console itself. You could snag an N64 controller keychain in 5 colors for £2.99, or a fancier one with an LCD clock showing the time, date and seconds for £3.99. For those feeling nostalgic for the console itself, there's an N64 Control Deck voice memo keychain that records and plays back your messages for £6.99. Or the next page is bursting with fresh bananas for the N64 game WWF Warzone, presented by a cheeky monkey mascot. It's a cheat zone, offering secret codes to call in other wrestlers during a match, like Ahmed, Bret Hart, Bulldog, Farouk, Goldust, Kane, Shamrock, Mankind, Mosh, Owen Hart, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, Thrasher, Triple H and The Undertaker. Plus, there's a tip on how to play as Rattlesnake. Create a wrestler using only 40 out of 50 available attributes, and complete the game on medium difficulty. The page includes screenshots from the game, featuring Bret Hart and Goldust battling in the ring, and another bout between Default and Bulldog. This page features cheat codes and tips for Nintendo 64 games. For NFL Blitz, it lists hidden player names and pin numbers to unlock them. Some names include Beth, Builds, Brain, Brian, Daniel, DBN, Ed, Forden, Gatson, Gene, Gentil, Grinch, Guido, Jappel, Jason, Jennifer, Jimk, John, Josh, Lolty, Luis, Marker, Mike, Mitch, Monty, Nico, Paula, Paolo, Raiden, Rog, Root, and Ryan. The page also lists beat-em-ups, shoot-em-ups, platform games and sports, and racing games available on the N64. It lists games such as Clay Fighter 63 1/3, Killer Instinct Gold, Aero Gauge, Extreme G, All-Star Baseball 99, and Mario 64. There is also a phone number to call for more cheat codes. Hiya! The next page details cheat codes for various aspects of gameplay. It includes cheat mode activation instructions, effects like super field goals, allow stepping ob, power-up blockers, fast passes, turning off the stadium and codes to go with them. There are instructions for onside kicks, extra blockers, and how to hide plays. It also contains hidden player names and pin numbers to unlock them. Ienju. This page is all about 1080 degrees snowboarding, with a sprinkle of 0x cheats. For 1080 degrees, you can unlock Crystal, Gold, and Panda characters by completing specific tasks in race mode. There are also cheats for a Turbo Start, Deadly Fall course, and Dragon Cave course. Other fun tricks include getting a penguin snowboard, ghost playback during demos, and unlocking tricks easily. You can even adjust the title screen view, or remix replay music. Lastly, a cheat in FZero-X allows the player to complete FZero-X by inputting a specific sequence of controls. There is also an advert at the bottom of the page to trade your old consoles at it games. This page is a full-page advert from Project K, showcasing data codes and a wide range of imported games and accessories. They've got a selection of Nintendo 64, Sega Saturn, and PlayStation titles, as well as Dreamcast consoles imports and anime merchandise. It's essentially a one-stop shop for gamers looking for something a bit different. The next page is the letters section, aptly named the firing line. It starts with a thanks to Gamester LMP for providing joypads as prizes for readers. A reader named Brendan Brooke praises the magazine's new layout and expresses concerns about the N64's future. He questions the quality of Japanese game boxes compared to British ones, and suggests a demo video for games. He also wonders about linking a pocket camera to the N64 and the possibility of a Street Fighter game. The magazine responds, addressing his points, and confirming more N64 titles are on the way. They also humorously state that the converters they tried don't work, and that there's no news on a Street Fighter game for the N64 at the moment. This page features the Dear Total 64 letters section. Mark Shaw asks why Sony is advertising more than Nintendo, questions the release of Mystical Ninja 2, and suggests a camera for the N64, envisioning photo integration in games like GoldenEye. The magazine jokingly responds about the Mystical Ninja 2 release date, considers the camera idea reminiscent of Mario Paint, and questions the demand for such a peripheral. Scott Slater expresses concerns about developers focusing too much on multiplayer, lamenting the decline of quality single-player experiences. They appreciate Rare's approach, and wonder who has achieved all cheat times on GoldenEye or medals in Blastcore. Total 64 attempts to think of a lame multiplayer racing game, praising games like FZero-X and GoldenEye, acknowledging that some multiplayer games are ill-conceived and asking for better software. The next page continues the Dear Total 64 letters section. Ryan O'Reilly thinks Rare are criminals for the ending of Banjo-Kazooie, and the secrets being essential in Banjo-Kazooie, questioning why players have to wait. The magazine responds with skepticism about the controversy, suggesting that players should only buy the sequel if they want to, regardless of the secrets, and that Banjo-Kazooie is only short. The page also features a Madeira Games advert, selling US and Japanese games for N64, PSX, Sega, and DVD with a Dreamcast logo. Games listed include Metal Gear Solid, WWF Warzone, GT, Duke 2, Spyro, Point Blank 2, Elemental Gearbolt, Rival Schools, Banjo-Kazooie, Mission Impossible, Gex 64, Disaemon, Iggy's Wrecking Balls, and Turok 2, with mention of Pioneer DVD player. This page features a Picks Win Prizes section, encouraging readers to send in their best N64 related drawings. The lucky winners get prizes from Fire International. We see artwork of N64 characters from readers, including Diddy Kong Racing, Banjo-Kazooie, Mortal Kombat 4, Super Mario 64, and more. There are also drawings inspired by Total 64 itself. The lucky artists are Nalin De Silva, David Jackson, Joe Green, James Harvey, Gerard McDonnell, Michael Knight, and Stephen Watson. This page showcases the high scores for various N64 games, specifically 1080 Degree Snowboarding, GoldenEye 007, and Lilac Wars. Alan Dundas is declared the winner for the month, with runners-up Jeremy Wendt, Jonathan Gain, Peter Fisher, and Joe Perry. Readers are encouraged to submit their scores for a chance to win prizes. The next page displays high scores for Mario Kart 64 and Diddy Kong Racing, plus Snowboard Kids. Alan Dundas seems to be dominating the Mario Kart scene, with appearances on multiple tracks. It also mentions winners receive game copies of Turok 2 and expansion packs, plus memory packs for runners-up. This page is a subscription advert for Total 64 magazine, offering 12 copies for the price of 10. It includes an image of a futuristic astronaut standing next to a spacecraft, and a form to fill out with payment details to subscribe to the magazine by either check, postal order, or credit card. The next page is a back-issue advert for Total 64 magazine, encouraging readers to order old issues. It showcases a range of past magazines including issue 15 with International Superstar Soccer 98, issue 16 with Turok, issue 17 with Banjo-Kazooie, issue 18 with Mortal Kombat 4, issue 19 featuring Wipeout 64, and issue 20 with Turok 2 plus Rogue Squadron. The bottom of the page contains an order form to be completed to purchase the back issues. This page is an advertisement for Station, the only unofficial PlayStation magazine, offering a free PlayStation demo CD every month. It features a world-exclusive review of Actua Soccer 3, with the tagline, "Ooh, ah, Actua." We rate the latest version of Gremlins Soccer Blockbuster first. Playable demos include Abe's Odyssey and B-Movie, plus Dead Ball Zone. Issue 2 is on sale the 29th of October. The bottom section includes a subscription form where you can choose 2 games from Tomb Raider, Tekken 2, Command & Conquer, and Grand Theft Auto and payment options. The next page is a preview of what's coming up in the next issue of Total 64. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil is leading the charge, promising more 64 missions. Duke Nukem 0 Hour is also on the horizon, with the Total 64 crew heading to Derby. There's a review of Body Harvest which aims to see if the 18-rated game gets the Total 64 certificate. Wipeout 64 gets scrutinized to see if it'll fizzle out. On the previews front, Micro Machines and FIFA 99 are mentioned. There's also a Christmas feature, focused on the best 1064 games and peripherals. A free 32-page book and a poster of Extreme Egg 2 are being given away. There's also a promise of some secret free stuff that's being packed into the next issue. Vrally is under the spotlight to see if there's still fuel in the tank. Finally, Starshot, formerly known as Space Circus, is headed into the lab for a full examination. This page is the sign-off section, with an editorial piece titled, "Woke Up This Morning." It humorously addresses the issue of games being previewed in the magazine but not appearing when readers buy it. The author assures that they aren't liars or cheats, but rather developers are too scared to have their games reviewed if they don't meet the quality standards. The editorial highlights the magazine's commitment to only covering top-quality software, and mentions that games either get further development or are dropped entirely. It concludes with optimism about the N64's potential, stating that the machine will have games that look just as good, if not better than PC games. There's also the phrase, "Lock on to the greatest power source," in big lettering. The bottom of the page includes contact information for the magazine's staff, advertising, distribution, and publishing details. This page is a full-page advert from Special Reserve, offering Nintendo 64 consoles, games, and accessories, plus Super NES games. They also advertise Pocket Game Boys, PlayStation games, and controllers, and claim to beat any locally advertised price. Oh, and you get free gifts if you join their club. Blimey, it seems like a right bargain for those looking to relive their childhood. The next page is a full-page advert for Game Central, advertising that their 4Boys store is now near you. They offer free catalogs and feature various characters such as Mario, Banjo-Kazooie, Lara Croft, and Conker, promoting a wide range of games and platforms from that era. It's a real nostalgia trip for gamers who remember that time. The next page is a full-page advertisement for Total 64 magazine, featuring a robotic insect-like figure with yellow and black stripes. It is promoting the magazine itself. The next page showcases the Total 64 magazine itself, featuring a robotic wasp buzzing around. The cover proclaims Top Banana, suggesting a focus on quality content. It's a visually striking page designed to grab attention, likely the front cover of the magazine. This page is an advert for Total 64 magazine, emblazoned with the tagline, "Be ready for action." A futuristic wasp robot hovers around, promising high-octane gaming content. The cover is visually arresting, designed to hook readers with its bold imagery and promise of exciting reviews and features. The next page is a full-page advert for Total 64 magazine. It showcases a bold futuristic wasp robot design and the tagline "Be ready for action," promising high-octane gaming content to hook readers.